All right, welcome to the Casey Catch Up. We got Lucas, or on his Instagram, it's foil only, and basically Lucas caught my attention. I think back in 2021, so about 2 years ago, because a friend of mine tagged you saying, "Check this guy out. He's foiling with a bungee cable in a river," and a lot of people, were pretty impressed by it. It was definitely a unique way to foil, and he sort of, I guess, invented this sort of river bungee foiling technique, which I think it's going to get bigger because there's so many places with rivers and are sort of landlocked that they can't do it. But basically, Lucas has learned to downwind foil, and I wanted to get him on to kind of pick his brain on how he learned the process that he went through, which I think is a bit different, and then the sort of conditions he's looking at to downwind foil at home now. So thanks for coming on, Lucas.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been cool to follow your journey, and I guess I was lucky enough to sort of be able to help you sort of learn the downwind foil part of things. You picked it up super quick, so I think you had a pretty good base. But why don't you give us a bit of insight into who you are and how you got into foiling and leading into the bungee stuff and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So it started all in the river. That's true. All with the bungee. And before, I've never been with the surfboard in the water. So not really. Maybe we did some windsurfing stuff, but very, very basic, one course or something. And then I moved next to my river. I bought a house and I was looking at the river and thinking about, okay, how cool would it be to be able to do something in there, not just stand up paddling or something, kind of water sport. And then I saw on Instagram, I saw guys doing it with a normal surfboard from Switzerland. So they have a very long bungee rope, and they use a normal surfboard. They put it across the current, go and stretch the bungee, and then they put the nose into the current, and then they just pulled themselves up. So that's what I tried first. But then I realized it's not working every day. You have to have a very strong water flow, and it's not the average water flow. And also it's kind of stressful for the bag and for everything. And it's just a few seconds. You got pulled so quick, and then you have to do it again. And then there was a friend of me, who was into the kite foiling. And I saw that also on Instagram, because I mean, every new sport you see on Instagram. I was thinking, man, this looks so efficient. Maybe this could be way better in the river. So yeah, and then we tried it with his gear. It didn't work at all. The foil was way too small. The board was way too small. So it was like it actually didn't work. So and after it, but it was in my head all the time, and then I decided to buy the biggest board I could get, a big wing foil board, just to be comfortable to stand up on it on the river, in the river. And I bought a big gong foil, very big. I don't know, 2,500 centimeters. Yeah, and that's how I learned foiling. I went in the river, in the current, and then it pulled me out up on foil, and I fall in like you do behind the boat. And then time after time, I get comfortable, and I realized, okay, wait, when I do a turn, I can load again some kind of energy to the rope, and maybe I can do the next turn. And then it was turn by turn. And then wow, I can do it for like endless. You don't have to stop and to go back again for extend the rope. You just keep going turn by turn, and it was really good, because then I could do it every day. And it's like I'm walking out of my door, go to the river, can do a session for like I will be in the water in 5 minutes, and I could do a session for an hour and walk back, and then I have a good training session, just time on foil.
Oh, sure.
And that's the story.
That's awesome. I think for me, just then when you were going through it, I think I love that you didn't get it straight away, and that you sort of refined it. And the biggest thing for me was, I guess a lot of people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you as well, is about equipment and the biggest board you can get and the biggest foil you can get. That's the thing that people have to do when you're learning something new. I get so many questions about people wanting, I'm looking at downwind foiling. What should I get? I've got I've got a lift 150 and I've got the new, 7-foot Amos or 7-foot Sonova or, KT board. What do you recommend? And the advice I always give people is just go bigger because it's going to make your
for
life
sure.
so much easier because
and there is no shortcut. There's no shortcut. I have a friend who's like, okay, I buy the small board and I just have to buy it once, not buy two boards. And he's trying to like just overstep the big board stuff, but it's not working. So you have to struggle a lot when you go right from the beginning to the, I call it the advanced equipment, when you choose smaller foils and smaller boards right from the beginning, it's just so much harder to learn. So I really recommend buying. There is a market for the pro stuff, and there is a market for the entry level, And so I really recommend big boards, big foils. Then you have time on foil and not time struggling to get up on foil,
Yeah, you fast forward your learning curve. If you're up on foil, you're learning, and like you found, once you're up, you found you could turn side to side, and then you improved your skill set in a quicker amount of time because you're up on foil for longer, and that's huge. The other thing I took note of was, and I guess what I've seen from your socials is that you're still riding pretty big foils in that river. Like you haven't. Everyone's obsessed with trying to go smaller and smaller and smaller so they can go faster and faster. But it seems like, to me, you're like this anomaly that you've figured out, okay, this foil works well. If I can tweak it by changing the fuse or the tail, then I can then turn harder in the same conditions. And if I go too small, a big, front foil, then it's no longer fun. And that,
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I agree. So what I'm using, basically, it's the P&G 3010. And that's my go-to foil for everything because I love it. It's efficient, it's big, it's good in pump. And when there is more water in the river, I use the ART Pro 1201, which is about, I think, 1,300 centimeters square inch. Oh, no, square centimeters. Yeah. But I'm coming from big foils, I'm not looking for and sometimes if I switch to a smaller foil, which everyone is talking about, wow, it's so surfy, it's so turny, I don't like it because I don't have that rail to rail stability, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also love the wide span for tip reaching, and you can spray with it, and it's so much fun. I think it's just a different kind of foiling, But also in the river, it's very easy to turn because you have that handle at that point where you can turn your body around. So it's incredible how good you can turn like a very high aspect large foil. You can't compare with surfing.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Tell us, what about a bit of your background? I had a look in the ad. You got 2 children by the looks of things, and your wife, and you're getting them into foiling through your little electric boat as well, which is so cool. It sort of looks like low horsepower, but with the foil, it's the perfect, combination.
Yeah, I can go in the, I think, 4th, 5th wake. So it's way enough to wake surf with a big foil. That's incredible. Yeah. And here on our lakes, there's a restriction on gas boats, so we are only allowed to use electric boats. And there's no wake surfing behind electric boats, so foil is a good way to go out on the lake. And I also use it for training, for training people to get into the foiling.
Awesome. Love that you're giving back too. That's all. Yeah, so good. And have you gotten your kids out foiling behind the boat yet, or anything like that? Or they're too young?
Yeah, the oldest one is 3.5.
A bit young.
So I don't want to put him out in the middle of the lake. But what we do is we have he's trying to dock start, but without a foil.
Awesome. Yeah.
We just put a board on the surface, and then he's running on the dock, jumping on it and trying to lift it, not just falling in. But it's fun. And it's a good. I think next year I want to put a very short mast under it. I'm already thinking about how to train my kids in a very, very safe way. So I'm thinking about just a 20 centimeter mast or something, then a small foil, and maybe just pull him, because he's so lightweight, just pull him by a rope. Have you ever tried something like this, to pull him out, not behind the boat, by hand?
No, I've done that with I teach in a lake at home, and we're trying to paddle up, and I need to try and teach this guy to sort of pump up, and he just needed a bit more speed. He couldn't paddle fast enough, so I got a few tie downs out of the back of my car, tied like 4 together, and just ran along this sandbank with a big 1310, and I got him up and foiling. It was a pretty this is a full grown man, so you'll be able to do it with a 4-year-old easily.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
I've just got one. He's 1.5. So
okay,
still a bit young to be foiling.
Yeah,
but it's I love the journey, and he loves climbing on my board on the beach, but hasn't gotten out in the foil just yet.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to integrate the family, because it's not daddy is going out for foiling, having fun, and then coming back, and mommy to spend time with the kids. So I love the idea to go out there together, and it's a dream for me one day to be out there with my 2 boys and my wife on the water, having fun all together, enjoying a downwind or something. That would be so cool. So that's the plan where I'm working on. So that's why I need all the electric boats, I need foil drive and all the stuff, just to make it as easy as possible to get them on foil.
Absolutely, I love the dream, and I'm likewise, but I'm a bit like you. I don't want to I want them to make their own decisions rather than say, come on, we're going foiling because that's what I want to do. It's the balancing act, but we'll have to trade notes as we learn what works and what doesn't for getting the youngsters into it.
The next generation.
Okay, so you mentioned the foil drive as well. Have you been playing around a bit with that for in the lakes, or like have you been using the foil drive?
Just recently I got a foil drive Assist Plus, and I was I'm thinking about that, to use it for getting people into the downwind without the stress of paddling up. And also I will use it for myself, I think, for runs that I did not before. So just to have a very safe option to go out and go back in again. I think it's a good tool in your bag to have. So, but I just did 2 sessions. One was in Berlin, just e-foiling around for 3 hours, catching some boat wakes. And the second one was on Lake Garda. It was a flat day, and I gave it to my wife just for e-foiling around. And it's incredible. It's so cool, because I just put it under my normal stuff, and I have an e-foil in my pocket. So it's a nice toy.
It's an awesome toy. I've been utilizing it. Lucky enough to live close to the Aussie, the foil drive owners, and they hit me up early in the piece. And like you said, it's an e-foil for the gear you have already, and you just, I've used it to teach people for the last 2-3 years, and it's been unbelievable. How have you been mounting it? So you said 3 hours in Berlin chasing boat wakes. So I assume you had it sort of higher up on the mast for that?
Exactly, yeah. It was a carbon mast and the 1201 for the first 1.5 hour, and then I went to the P&G 3010, and it was on my downwind board. So, and I had the paddle, so it's very efficient to get up. I think it's burning a lot of energy when you use a small board and you try to get up, but you still be on plane, not on plane. With the board, then I think it drains a lot of battery. But when you have a long and skinny board, it's super efficient to get up, and you can get up with half throttle. So it's nothing.
It's been so cool, that I guess the evolution in board design and foil design, to be fair, in the last 3 years. I started teaching on a 610 by 32 wide board for stability, and then I found that I'm better off using something that's 8 foot by 18, just because you can get people up earlier, and in a lake, balance is less of an issue, and you can just lie down and using it as an e-foil. So it's been cool, and sounds like you've sort of starting to figure all that stuff out and the journey of it all, and very cool.
Yeah, I'm happy to see what I will do with the foil drive. Now we'll bring it to France and to the ocean and see how it goes in the ocean.
Yeah,
Will be fun.
it's super fun. The ocean is, yeah, it's such an awesome tool. I got a few friends who learned to downwind without any negative or any bad downwind runs using the foil drive. So that was cool. So but you've already learned to downwind foil.
Yeah. So maybe I can continue the journey. So I was in the river, and then I noticed next thing I saw on Instagram was, okay, the guys are pumping. What is that pumping? So I was like, okay, I can let go the rope and start to pump, you know. And then I learned pumping on the rope, because it's so good. You don't have to swim back. You just float back with the flow, you know. Then you get up immediately with the bungee, and then you can try again pump. So that was a very good learning for me how to learn pump. And then I was able to pump with this incredible big draggy slow foil. And I learned dog starting, but we don't have dogs, so I started on rocks and trees and everything which is laying around in the nature.
Yeah.
But that's super fun. I love the sport because now we are doing like enduro races, you know, trying to get as fast as you can up on the river. But you have to start like from everywhere. You know, there's not a perfect dock. There's just trees and rocks laying around, and you have to pick a good option for you, or you pass that option and try to go further up and take the next one. So it's a strategic game. Yeah. So I learned pumping. And then, okay, I was like, I want to learn that wing stuff, because I'm not a wind. I don't like the wind sport so much. But it was like that. This is like a, I don't know, a personal taxi device to bring you everywhere you want. But I don't want to learn here at our spot, because on our lakes, when we have wind, it's really bad weather. And it's really like super gusty, so big waves, choppy and not comfortable, and that's not a good setup to learn. So I bought all the stuff and went to Cape Verde, to Sal. In the winter, there's warm, water is warm, everything is nice, and I learned the wing stuff. And then when I was out with the wing, I noticed, wow, when you turn downwind, there is like an energy which is not coming from the wind, and you can tap into that. And there was a guy who was it was very early. He was on a subfoil. I think they had already a really high aspect, 1,000 square centimeters foil. And he was surfing all the wind swells out there, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing! This is great!" And then, then it was for me. It was the next step was the downwind sub game, and same thing. I saw it on Instagram. I mean, it's everything new out there. You can see. You know, it's all coming from Hawaii or from you guys. You're like the inventors of the scene.
Yeah,
but then it's easy to adapt, you know, and because all the information is out there and everyone is sharing it, you know.
Yeah.
And you can ask them, how do you get up? I tell you how to get up, you know. Yeah. And so it was, for me, it was the next thing, and it was like very in the beginning when I was looking for the right board for the river, and there was nothing available here. There was no big wing boards available. So same was with the downwind stuff, and I tried to ask everyone, how can I get a decent stand-up paddle board for foiling? I think I was asking you as well for the Sonova stuff, and no one was like, there's nothing in Europe. And then I asked Dave Kalama if he can build me one, and he was like, yeah, for sure, no problem. Just wait 3 months, and I will send it out to you. And I was like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And I bought my first downwind board.
The downwind stuff has happened really quickly, and when I first started doing it years ago now, I was working with Sonova, and they basically said to me, look, there's about 10 of you doing this downwind foiling. There's not a market for it. While we make a dedicated model when there's 10 of you doing it, and you're all like freaks anyway. and that's what's been so exciting. And credit to Dave Clymer, he really broke down the door, I guess, opened up the avenues for people to learn, and the long skinny boards have really allowed that. And
it was also a point for me. I just wanted to give him the credit, for it. I was seeing, okay, some other guys are already coming up with it, but I was like, he spent so much time in developing, so much time in error, and all the fault, and so much money. And I was like, okay, I have to give him the credit. And I was also interested in the board because I think it's still one of the best boards out there. Have you ever ridden one?
I haven't ridden another Barracuda, unfortunately.
Really?
No, it's they've only just become available probably in the last 3 to 4 months in Australia.
The factory boards.
Yeah, the factory boards, and then the customs, they weren't. Dylan Henry from GoFall was the only one who had one over here that I knew of, and he lives a bit further away from me, so it wasn't really possible. And then COVID basically before that, like I was in Hawaii all the time, and I was actually doing a lot of downwind fall runs with Dave and Alex Aguera, and Dave wasn't using Barracuda style boards back in 2019, I guess it was, when I was over there before. So
was it the E3 or what he was using there?
He was on a custom. It was towards the Barracuda, but it was probably only 6 or 7 feet. It wasn't 18, wasn't under 20 inches wide. It was And he wouldn't mind me saying this. He struggled more than anyone in the pop up and getting going, because he's a bigger guy. And he likes to go fast. So, but I remember this one run in Kihei, I was doing loops around him at the start. And come on, Dave, let's go. I wanted to do with him. I didn't want to go and just do a solo run. And then he finally got up. And once he was up, he was just going so fast from the same gear. And he was just like motoring. He knows how to go fast, Dave. So he knew how to downwind, but it was just the pop up. And that's honestly why I think he's developed such a good board. And he that plus his goal to do the prone stuff and open that up. And it's cool. Like I said, credit to Dave. He didn't invent a long skinny board, but he repurposed it for downwind foiling, which is so cool.
Exactly.
It's
and it was for me. I was quite surprised when the board came in. It was like super lightweight. Didn't expect that. I mean, it's a custom. It's not the
you got a white one, yeah? It was really special looking. Look cool.
I asked him to keep it as simple as possible, to just for the style. I love it when it's like pure, and it's glass, so I was surprised. I thought it was carbon, and it came in and it was glass. So very Hawaiian style board. But I think it's still. I got back to it because after it I was like, okay, now I got this board, and it was the same like you told me before. I asked all the manufacturers here from Germany or from Europe, and they're always like, no, it's niche. It's not going to be a huge market. It's for some, I don't know, for who wants to do sub on a foil, with paddling. It's like, no, it's not going to be a big thing. And then I bought the Kalama board, and everyone was like, at this time, can I take a look? Can you send me some pictures? Can I have the the brands? The brands are asking me for it.
Cheeky.
They wanted to copy it, And then but now after the Kalama, I've written like my own shapes. I did with vampire boards, and everything is like based on the Kalama stuff. And also riding the Axis board now. It's also a custom board, which is 610 by 19, a bit shorter. But then I went back to the.
Can I ask you what was the dimensions of the Barracuda, or is it 5.5 by 30?
Which one?
The original Barracuda, the one you got from Dave.
It's 8.0 by 19.5.
So you've gone shorter.
And
you went to the Vampire and the Axis.
Yeah, my first Vampire was 8.0 by 18.5, it was almost the same dimensions, because I want to compare the shape to my Kalama, you know. And if I change too much in dimension, I can't compare the shape and the design of the board and see what works, what maybe not works. So I tried to keep the first board in the same dims. Now I went back to the Kalama, and there's still, after riding different boards, I'm on the Kalama, and there's so much magic inside. It's incredible. It's still the board which feels a bit different from everything else. It's like on every aspect, it's a bit better.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy. And I didn't notice that on the first time, because, you know, I had nothing to compare with it.
Yeah.
But now, after riding different boards and going back, it's still one of the easiest boards to get up. And it's when you touch down, it bounces back, but not too much. And, you know, it's a good, it's like a good friend who always says, okay, I'm going to deal with it for you with your struggle. So it helps a lot for the good board, helps a lot for quick progression, for sure.
Yeah. What do you put it down to? You know, just shape, design, volume distribution, or do you put it down to weight or dimensions, or what do you feel?
I think in the end, it's more about detail, like not about a big invention like I don't know, cutouts or like straight. Like, I think there's a lot of marketing in the boards right now.
Yeah.
Because you have to sell a board, and you can't sell a board just by telling it's the best, you know. You have to give some
reason.
some reasons. But I think in the end, it's dimensions, it's details, it's where a rocker line, for sure, good rocker line. And I think it's more into the detail. And what I figured out, I've tried to build boards with volume in the nose. The idea was to go shorter with more volume in the nose. Because I was thinking about a shorter board is better for pumping and better for turning. And my goal was always to try to get it shorter, but still very easy to get up. And I think this is not the way to go, because when I put the volume in the nose on a shorter board, it feels so much longer, because there's volume is weight, you know. And so there's a lot of swing weight, and there's a lot of volume and weight in the nose. Even if it's not so far, you feel it, you know. And if you do a longer and skinnier board with a very thin nose, like the very last 30 centimeters is just very thin volume, it works so much better for getting up, because it's longer, but it's still so good to pump and to turn. Because there's not a lot of weight in the front. So that's where I go now with my boards. And it's basically what Dave Kalama is doing. The boards are very thin in the nose, and I think that's very good shape.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like you're getting the benefit of the length, but without the weight being far away from you. You know, it's like the benefit of waterline, I guess. Yeah.
And if you look at the boards and you see the I don't know, the nose, the 30 centimeters of the nose, there's not a lot of board. It's just a very thin and lightweight nose. So you don't feel that when you're up on foil, but you definitely feel it when you're riding the board.
Yeah. That's interesting. The board evolution we could talk about forever. It's been so cool.
For sure.
But I want to back up. Let's talk about your learning to sup foil. And I think that's something that's super interesting to me. Actually, and before we go there, the river foiling, just a quick one. Mast length for the river and the bungee, because it looks like in some places it was pretty shallow in that river. Obviously, you'd know it pretty well. But what mast length are you running, and have you ever hit the bottom? Like, is that something that happens often?
For sure. For sure. Every single time. So I think the river foiling is best for all the brands, because you smash your gear like it's you're gonna buy so many foils when you are out there in the river, because you're just hitting the rocks on the ground. But so I like the 75 mast and the 82 maybe when there's more water, but that's I like those. I'm trying to be on just one mast length for every discipline, just to get very used into it, and just to get the feel when I'm high on foil or low on foil, and so I don't like the long masts at all. Even on winging, I'm on the 82 or 75, and because I feel I can tap into the energy much better, because I can stay high on foil without being so high with my weight and my view. So that's the mast I'm using in the river, and then
And then now to the subfoiling stuff. Did you learn to subfoil in the river? And actually, and how did are you paddling up in the river now on your subfoil, where you were used to be bungee foiling, I guess bungee river foiling?
Yeah, so my first idea about the sub was not actually for downwinding, because, like I said in the early beginning, the idea about foiling for me is to do it not just 2 weeks on vacation on holiday once a year. I want to do it in my daily life. So downwind was not on my horizon. So I was thinking about to use a stand-up just to get up everywhere. Because for me, I was looking at it and I was, okay, that's the perfect match. Because, the foils, I think it's the only surf sport where you are able to move without external energy on the foil, just by pumping. And that changed everything, like in surfing, in winging, in every sport. Also just in pump foiling. And the only problem was when you land your board, you are not able to get up again without external energy. So you needed a wing for the wing, or you needed like foil drive or electric foil, or at least a dock, And then when I saw the stand-up, or bungee, that's right.
With a river,
And when I saw the stand-up, I was like, okay, that's a perfect match. Now we are able to get up without external energy. So that was the reason why I want to get into that. And for me, it was all about Flatwater start. And that's also why I asked Dave Kalama, which is the best board to Flatwater start and then to pump. And he was like, okay, take a 7.6. I think that was his first idea, by 18 or 19. And then I was like, what's with an 8.0? Is it much more easy to get up? And he was like, yeah, it's more easy. And I was like, is it way harder to pump? And he was like, no, it's not way harder. Okay, let's take this one. So that was the idea. And then I got the board. I throw it in it was wintertime. It was November, so pretty cold here. It's like 1 degree.
I remember seeing the video. You're in booties and the full dry suit.
In the snow, full dry suit. But it was fun. For me, it was perfect, because you don't want to swim, you don't have to be on the bungee because you have to swim, and it was again a good match to be on a stand-up paddle and not on a prone board or something. So I went in the river, but without any current or water flow, and just to try to get up on foil. And I got some good tutorials from you guys, from like your course, or other guys were talking about, let's do it like this, paddle more to the front and more straight, and like remote teaching from the community on Instagram. And then I managed to get up, and since I was already used to pump, it was not hard for me to pump. And it was a good training, good cardio.
Do you think your pumping, like your I guess flatwater pumping especially, really helped your ability to paddle up? Because we've seen what's his name, Plant Positive Films. He's shown that he can pump up, and Kane DeWild and Jeremy Riggs and Dave Palmer have done the paddleless pump up. How much do you think your pumping and I guess work in flatwater and rivers and winging helped your, I guess, progression in the subfoiling?
So I think pumping helped me a lot, because I'm a super bad paddler, or I was. Let's say I was. So I paddled, I don't know, way behind me, and just even every second pump, like with the feet, I paddled. So it was horrible. Really, you can watch my first videos, but I was still able to get up on foil, and it's incredible. So I think pumping helped a lot. And also when you don't know how to pump, you can maybe pedal up, but then you don't know what to do then,
Yeah, for sure.
You can't keep going with the pedal. It's too hard. So I think it helped a lot, yeah. And also in the whole journey, in the downwind journey, it helped a lot because you just can cover so much mistakes by pumping. Also in the wing, I wasn't able to jibe at all for like, I don't know, a long time. I just put the wing down, pumped around, and put the wing up again.
That's a job. Yeah.
Yeah. So pumping helps a lot by just to be able to move without external energy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I guess my basic advice, I think my advice for you is to time your paddle stroke and your pump together, because if you could have that sort of extra speed when you're pushing down and then release with speed as you're lifting up, everything becomes easier. Pumping at speed is much easier, essentially. Yeah. So for those listening,
and it was for me, it was super interesting because when you start to pump or to learn how to pump, to dog start and to pump a foil, it feels pretty intuitive. You just jump on it and the foil kind of shows you what you need to do. But with paddling, it's completely different. It feels, when you paddle wrong, it feels so heavy, and that let you think that's right because you put a lot of energy in the pedal, but you're just wasting energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's when you do it wrong, it feels right. And then that's the worst case,
Yeah.
So you need someone to explain it to you. When paddle feels easy and light, then you do it right,
Yeah.
There's not a lot of splash, there's not a lot of water, and there's not a lot of like muscle stress when you do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. And people think that if they feel like they're working hard, they're going faster, but it's the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. When you pedal behind your feet, it feels like you're doing so much, and you're spending so much energy, and let you go fast, but you're just wasting your energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And from memory, you basically learned to paddle up in the flat, and then pretty soon after you had a holiday to, I think it was Spain.
No, it was French Brittany.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
In the winter, yeah.
Okay.
It was French foil. He's called it's François. He's the French foil guy, and he has a wing foil school. But I don't know. I think you might know him from back then from the sub races.
Yeah, I think I might.
From the stand-up races.
Yeah.
He was a professional or semi-professional sub racer, stand-up racer.
Yeah.
And then he opened up a wing foil school. And then he's also in the downwind. He's a good stand-up foil downwinder. And he was asking me, so if you want, you can come to me and I show you how to downwind in the ocean. I was like, okay, let me try to get this out of the water in the flat. And when I got it out, I will come and visit you. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, come. And then it was, I went there.
Yeah. And yeah, for some reason I thought you went to, was it Tenerife? I thought you were down in where anyway, so how was that experience, your first ocean downwinder after just paddling up in the flat?
It was, so this guy was really telling me how to paddle. Like he know how to paddle. We did some theory stuff. We did some, so he's a very, very good teacher, and he's very skilled, but I wasn't ready. So I tried to listen to everything, and we went out with his boat. It was a strong day, the first day, and we just tried in the harbor, because out there it was just too big for me. And I tried to get up, but it was a different story in the ocean, because everything was, I think I wasn't even able to get up on my knees,
Yeah.
Because it was so unstable there. And if you can't read the bumps and you don't expect what's coming next, you are not able to react to it. So I think in the end he pulled me up with the boat on my big board, and then I was able to surf a few meters of bumps, so it was good. And also we put then I told him, okay, let's put the big board away and put a tray on it and have some fun. And then we put a small tray on it, and it was a tow-in game. But it was fun, and it was good for me to have that experience. but it's a different game for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And worth mentioning that there's a lot of gains you can make, even if you can't paddle up or you can't stand in the bumps. But like once you're up on foil in those conditions, you can learn to read the lines. And because like there's two things for downwind foiling: there's getting up, and then there's staying up. And if you can't get up and the conditions are good, you may as well get your friend to tow you up, and then you can learn the second part. So when you do paddle up in the bumps, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, and that's and we went out with the wing, and that was the same we did with the wing. And I think that's why it was so important for me to learn the wing, because with the wing you can go downwind and learn how to read the bumps and learn how to surf the bumps without the stress and the task of paddling up on foil. So it was a good shortcut. And after it I was very motivated, because I love challenges. So was like, okay, I have to learn this. And then there was a wind day on our lakes, and I started to go downwind there, from like very, very short runs to longer runs. And that's super easy actually. It's
so tell us
easier.
about the lakes, and like what sort of conditions you had, and I guess what sort of fetch you had in the lake. If you want, why don't you tell me? I'll look it up on Google Maps, and we can have a look at what we were.
That's a good idea. Take a look at Lake Ammersee. It's called Ammersee.
How do I spell that? AMMERSEE. Got it.
You got it?
Yeah, let me open it
it's
up.
It's Munich.
Oh, it looks like a good body of water. Like it's long and.
Yeah, but the wind is coming from the west.
Oh, bad direction.
So,
let me share.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, it's like you can share it, so I can. Yeah, you're right. So what you see is Hersching.
Yep.
On the right, that's where we end our runs. So, and the wind is coming straight in there, but there's like a little, I would call it like like a how do you call it? It's like a tube, or like a venturi.
Yep. Yeah. It's like a low point. It funnels between there. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's in the bay, the waves are pretty good.
Yeah.
So and it's actually a bay run, but you don't have that's the fetch we have. So it's 5.4 something, right? When I do a run from there, it's about 8K on 7 to 8K on foil. So it's short runs. But the good thing is it's super organized there. There is no groundswell, there's no backwash, there's just one direction. You go downwind with the wind, and everything is so organized. So it's super, super easy to get up, because I don't know, it's steep. The waves are steep, they're not fast.
I call them groomers. It's like everything's groomed. Everything's clean and organized, and it's just
exactly. And it's running slow, so it matches the board speed. So I think that's the reason why it's so much easier to get up. If you have a fast running swell, it's hard to get up because you can't go that fast by paddling. And sometimes I think I have to try to get up prone, because it's actually pretty easy. So the first runs I did was from maybe you can zoom in a bit. There is on the some Waterval, it's called. You see on the left, it's just that was the beginning. It's just 2 kilometers, just paddle out a bit, and then
like this, and
then go in. Exactly. Not so far, but something like this. And I did it, and I went up with the wing again, and did it like, I don't know, 3 to 5 times a day.
Nice.
So paddle back in, wing up.
What sort of wind strengths are you talking? And obviously wind direction, I guess I'm guessing southwest is kind of the direction you were the wind direction. Is that?
Yeah, wind direction is actually coming straight from the opposite side. like it turns in 90 degree. Yeah, but something like this, like your like your arrow.
So is it more like this?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the wind
So
direction.
straight westerly.
But it's changing. Like it could change in one day. It can change like 90 degrees. So
Gotcha. Yeah, it changes all the time.
yeah. So sometimes we can go in one direction with the swell, and then the wind changes, and we can ride it back because it completely turned around.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
And now what I'm doing is I start from you see the little lines is where the boat goes, the ferry.
Yeah.
And I always drive the ferry back, and I take the one which is coming in, and then I end up in Diesen, which is down there. I go from there, or I end up, if I take the other boat, I end up in Riederau, which is more, which is there, or one which is one more up. There's another destination.
Yeah.
Awesome. So wherever the boat brings me back, I take the run from there.
Awesome.
So that's pretty cool because you don't need logistics, And
you can just take your foil onto the ferry.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
I write it down, and it's perfect because you can do it alone, and no shuttle, no car driving.
Yeah.
You end up don't miss the last boat of the day, then you have to paddle back.
Yes. Yeah.
But then it's a cool way to get up again.
So I'm assuming that the wind strength is like upwards of 20 knots when you're doing this.
So I go out when it's 15 knots.
15, yeah.
Then it works good with the PNG 3010. I always use this wing because the first 500 meters or first 2 kilometers, it's like flat, there's no fetch there's no water to be pushed. But I can do the run really shore to shore. So the first is just for me cardio game. I just pump out on the flat with some wind in the back. And then it's getting better. But that's in the end, I would love to have a smaller foil, but I don't want to pump a small foil like for 1 or 2 kilometers.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So to me, it looks like the longest, it's the longest from there. It's just over 6 kilometers. So I'd assume from probably 3 or 4 kilometers on, you'd get pretty good bumps for this last section. But the first 3 kilometers would be pretty light, and the 1310 would be, like you said, a bit of a pumping game rather than happening.
But I love it. It's nice to have the pumping game. And sometimes when it fits well, then I take the boat wake for the first kilometers just to surf the boat wake out, from the passenger boat, because it just dropped me off, and then I turn around and surf their wake. But they don't like it so much, so sometimes I have to take the harder way. Yeah,
it's definitely a gray area, the foiling in the foiling the wake of boats, because you're not towing, but they're probably nervous that you're going to run into them. That's cool. That's a really good insight into the runs you're doing, and I guess how you learnt, and basically you're showing us that we can learn with 5 kilometers of fetch, and 15 knots. That's actually a bit lighter than I thought was not possible, but like worthwhile, I guess, because there's sometimes it feels like, on a bad downwind run, when the wind's a bit light in days, it feels like you're just pumping the whole way. But the fact you're saying that the last stretch kind of stands up and you get that sort of downwindy sort of feeling. To me, the biggest lesson for those listening is big foil. Don't feel like you have to use a small foil just because you're downwinding. You've got to match your foil to the speed of the bumps with a short fetch and 15 knots of wind. You need the slowest foil you can get. And
and I think that's also the thing why all the European manufacturers are now producing really, really big and large span foils. Because they want to give tools to be able to go out winging or downwinding or sub in any conditions,
Any conditions.
And it's so much easier to get up on a big foil. And still, you with the PNG in these conditions, you have to carve a lot because you're still slower than the bump is running. So you can't go on one bump and just keep going with it. In the beginning, you have to go left, right all the time just to to keep in the because if you go straight, you're way too fast to so the foil is not slow enough. The stall speed is not slow enough to keep going with the bumps. So you have to go left, right. But it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, that's something that I've obviously I'm part of Code Foils now, and I'm pushing Marcus and Ben and Dan, the other three owners to we need a foil that can go slow and slower than foils are going, and like everyone's getting a bit caught up in this speed thing, and speed's important, but more important is to be able to foil in more conditions. And when I used to just paddle on my stand-up racing downwinding, a good speed, like a decent speed for like a light downwinder was like 12 kilometers per hour. If you could go 12 kilometers per hour, that was good. That was worthwhile doing a downwind run. On the foil, like what sort of speeds are you doing on the foil? Like, do you know what sort of averages you're doing, like per kilometer, or how do you measure it?
Yeah, on the PNG, on a run like this, I'm going, I don't know, I can take a look. I think 17 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So very slow.
Yeah. But compared to other, like every other downwind craft, surf skis, outrigger canoes, stand-up paddles, it's super fast.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is if we can make a foil that works well for super slow speeds, then we can have more fun in worse conditions. And that's,
but you still need to be able to turn, because especially in the very low conditions, you need to turn all the way to stay in the bump,
Yeah, for sure. And that's the balancing act, and the hardest thing from I'm not designing it, it's Marcus and Ben, and it's how can you go that slow but have the drag not being debilitating? How do you go so slow but then be fast enough that you're not going to just stall out? And I think that's what foil I guess engineers, or designers have to work on, is and you've seen the beta foil.
Do you think there's still a lot of headroom for development in this direction, or are we in the very end?
Well, I hope there's heaps, because I think like if 17 kilometers per hour is the slowest we can go in downwind conditions, that's disappointing because it prevents a lot of people from ever doing it. Like I've got a lot of friends who'll go for a downwind run, and if they can average 10 k's an hour for their downwind sup run, just sup with a paddle, no foil, that was an awesome run. I averaged 10, and that's if we can get a foil that can average 10 or maybe 12 or 13, then it means that we're going to be like, it just opens it up to more people, and that's lakes, like you could go in 10 knots in the same run and average 12 or 13 kilometers per hour. That's going to be super fun. So I think I hope we can design foils that can go slower, not just faster, because we already go faster than anything else, and it just means we need better conditions to go faster, because it's all about matching your foil to the speed of the conditions on offer.
And also, if I could add something to the wish list of you designing foils.
Done.
I call it the dynamic range of the foil. So from the very slow speed to the high speed, if you got a big range, that's the dream foil for me, because you're able to get up, but then if you are able to go really with the bumps and be stable and still have enough headroom without throwing you off the foil, so controllable at high speed, that's what we want. I think the range of low speed, and because we have to go up, that's the thing, you have to go up, and you maybe, and conditions, it's not always constant conditions. So maybe you start with very small, it's the same in Tenerife. I mean, it's a super easy run, but you start with different bumps, then you end, and in between it's completely different games. So it's nice to have one foil which is able to to deliver every little piece,
For sure. That's already been a goal of ours, and I guess Molokai to Oahu with the 860R that I used was exactly that. Easy flat water start, can keep up with the bumps in the middle, and then upwind flat water paddle up at the end, and that's the sort of that's the range. That's the goal. If you can have a foil that can go like ideally for this flatwater, like lake stuff, 10 k's an hour or 8 k's an hour, and go all the way up to 20 k's an hour. You've got pretty much all conditions covered for the one foil.
So,
yeah. Whereas if you need one foil that goes 10 k's an hour, another foil that goes 20, and it doesn't do anything in between, it's no good. So
what about quick change for the foils, and then in the race you can change your foil?
yeah. Well, that's something that we discussed, and Molokai Tuahu ruled it out. But
oh, really?
Yeah, you're not allowed to. Yeah, unless you have equipment failure. So I think it's a good rule because it forces people to progress. I guess designers to progress the foils and make it more usable for everyone.
I was thinking about the biplane when you have a big foil up higher on mast, like like foil drive, for like pumping, and then when you get higher on mast, you just have the second gear, the small foil,
Yeah.
And then when you go down, you already have you have the bigger foil again.
I think there's something in that. I think there's lots of ways that we can adjust or like tune our foils on the run, so to speak. And I honestly think we're just tip of the iceberg, and there's so many things that are going to be coming. But let's talk about so this is the lake wing upwind and the downwind, and actually talk us about the I guess the deflate downwinder, how that went for you. I know you left your wing in one spot. You sort of winged upwind and then left it there, and then.
No, it's the opposite. I was driving with the car to the end point where I exit the run, and I put the wing there. Then I went up, put my car at the starting point, because then I had the first run without the wing. It's more fun to have just a pedal. Then I pedaled down. I took the wing, blew it up, go up again, and then some days I had another wing down there, so I could use just one wing and put it in the car and pedal down, take another wing, but then you're running out of wings, So that's the one thing you can do, or I did. And the other thing I did is just deflate it, put it in a backpack and pedal down. But I'm still, it's wet then, it's heavy, and you have a backpack. It's not so much fun. It works, and you have to use the small wing. I go with a 4. It's still small enough to pack it in a backpack. But it's way more fun without a wing on the back. So I'm still looking for the perfect wing for deflate downwinders. Very small, very lightweight. Yeah, that would be good.
I think I guess the main thing, I guess, for the deflate downwind is you still need to be able to sail upwind with the wing, and that's and I've seen I guess a guy called Sam Reynolds over in Hawaii. He's got this like a pocket parachute, and he'll like take it out of his pocket, and it's poof, and he's got this and that's cool, awesome idea, but
it's just for downwind,
only for going downwind, and it's not strong enough to be able to sail upwind with it. I think you would have seen like the trainer kites, like the 2 meter sort of little. Maybe they've got something. You could basically kite foil up, and if the lines are short enough, it'd be easy enough to bring in. It'd probably be a mess, to bring it in. But I don't know. I still think there's more evolution in this side of the sport. And actually, I've spoken to Value about, how can we make this, how can we push this aspect of the sport more, because it's, I think it's going to become a thing for people. It makes it easier. If you can make it easier, then to do it self-sufficient. And there's something in it. There's something about downwinding without a wing, because it's, well, frankly, I think it's easier. There's less wing management. More.
Yeah, for sure. It's so. I think some people are, no, I can't go downwind with the wing. I need to go downwind with the wing first before I go to the pedal. And I'm saying, no, take the pedal. It's so much easier to go with the pedal than with the wing, because you always have that wing in front of you, flying around, blocking your view. It's so much harder with the wing than with the pedal once you're up.
Yeah, once you're up, it's the easiest thing about the wing is you can get up really easy, and with the paddle, it's like, man, if you don't know how to use
Yeah,
the
but
paddle.
that's what we did in Tenerife, and it was a huge boost in progression with the wing sharing, because you use the wing
Yes.
for getting up,
Yeah.
but then you put it away and you're free, you know?
Yeah. I
And
saw
that's
that. That was
kind of best of both worlds.
absolutely. The only problem with that is when you both get better, then
Yeah, one is
no
just
one
carrying the wing.
no one wants to get stuck with the wing, you know. It's like
Yeah, yeah. That's why I stopped this, because for Joe, who is the local shaper there, I was just his wing carrier, you know, just his backup, because he was giving me the wing in the first, and then he did the whole run on the downwind with his prone little 40-liter board.
Yeah.
And I was just carrying the wing behind him as a backup service. So I was like, okay, next time I take the paddle again. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. You only
Not
learn
just
that
kidding.
lesson one. Yeah. It's you need to be the same level, I think, is a trick. And if you're both learning and you want to learn to downwind foil, then if you were both
but
same
if you
level,
want to teach someone, maybe if you want to teach someone and you're still good, for you, if you want to take someone out there just for teaching as a personal coach or something, it's still a good option.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's there's so many good ways to do this sport, and there's just, I think we got to look outside the box, because there's so many options. You know, it's cool.
Have you ever tried to e-foil up with a foil drive?
Yeah.
Upwind?
That's awesome.
Does it work?
It does, but you've got to have a really good understanding of the battery life, because if your battery runs out when you're out there and you can't get back up, it's very hard to paddle up with a dead battery and the prop on the mast. You know, it's...
Oh yeah, have you tried it to paddle up with it? That was in my head, to paddle it up without using it, but just have it attached, you know, on the flat, just to know how draggy it is.
I think it's possible with a big foil like a 1310, but normally in the ocean here, the 1310 is too much. It's more work, because you've got to, you know, peel off and pump across more. So I think I was using the 1099, or maybe even, no, I think I was using the GL 180 when I was using it. And look, I wasn't going a long way upwind because I was concerned about, you know, the battery life. This was the original foil drive, not the plus. And I was only going like 2Ks out and then turning around and doing it that way. It was a great way to learn to get, you know, kilometers in without having to, you know, paddle upwind or wing upwind. But yeah, to be able to paddle up with the battery and the prop on there, I think it'd be... I haven't actually tried it, but I think it'd be tricky. Just there's an extra weight and there's extra drag. But I haven't tried recently, and I haven't tried with the new boards. You know, the new boards and the big foils, you're adding a lot of efficiency. I think on the big foils, like the 1310, it's possible. Definitely possible. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So it's
unfortunately, we are not allowed to use it on the lakes, and the boats, the ferry is just going summertime. So in the wintertime, I need to do it with the wing or something else. So it's good to look out for a solution to get upwind.
Yeah. So they class them as like PWC kind of style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's a bummer the way they've, you know, banned it, but I can see why. It can get out of hand. If there are 100 of them, it's going to be a problem, you know.
Yeah. But our lakes are super restricted. You're not allowed to use gas boats and stuff, you know. And I think they're just, and I see people, they're using e-foils. They're not going out far on the lake, you know, and just driving around. They are on the shore, want to show what they do, how cool they are, you know. And then it can be dangerous to be swimming people, boats, everything. So they don't want to have electric surf devices on the lakes.
Yeah, but you can still use your electric motored boat. You know, yeah. But you don't want to take that out when it's a windy, ugly day. It's a bit tricky.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell us about the I guess from my coaching perspective, when you were uploading videos and we're going through them each week, it looked to me like you made your best progress when you were in Tenerife. Do you want to explain what you did there? Because I remember one question you asked was, you know, what foil should I use? You know, I'm not sure about the conditions, and I'm pretty sure, you know, my 1310 is going to be too slow. What did you find? Your findings?
It was the idea to join your club before I went to Tenerife, just to get the right answers for my questions. And I think we discussed the run, where to go, where to start, where to end. And I had no connection to locals or someone there. So it was good to have a bit of advice from your side. And yeah, we discussed the foil size. And I brought with me the 1300 PNG. And then I also got the prototype from, which is now called the 1201, the Art Pro. That was the two foils I took with me. Maybe a 1310, but I didn't use it in the downwind. And I started with the 1300. When I went there, I was on the it was a flat day when I arrived, or nearly flat. But I was so stoked. I wanted to get out in the ocean, and I was just in a bay paddling around with my 8-foot Kalama and the PNG pumping around, super little swells. And I was doing that, and it took seconds, and there were guys staying on the beach, like the locals. Okay, come out of the water. What are you doing here? Tell me about this. It's a longboard. It's a downwind board. It's a Dave Kalama board. So it was really easy to get connected to the locals there. And there's like a little group which is into the downwind. They're very good. One guy is called Adai, and he's on the lift and small boards, and he's also coming from the stand-up paddling, so good paddler. And they did the runs with the normal stand-up without a foil, and now they are going to the foil. And the local shaper, who's called Joe, he's also in that game. So he's building long and skinny boards and trying all the different stuff. And they were really interesting what I'm doing there. Why am I coming from a lake with a big board and now trying to downwind there? So, but it was nice, and I got really, really nice and warm welcoming, which is so awesome. I mean, I'm in a spot as a tourist, and the locals are coming and say, okay, come with us. Let's have a beer. I tell you everything. I tell you where to go, where to enter, where to exit, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it turned out that they just adopted me and took me out every single day with the car, going up to the harbor. And and so I had the idea to start with small runs. They had a different idea. They was like, come get in the car, we do the big one. And so we did, and I did with the PNG 1300. And it was, I remember it was with Jamie Knox, and he was also his first run on a stand-up. Jamie Knox is the guy from Ireland.
Yep.
He has a big you know him maybe?
I've heard of him, yeah.
And he was on the stand-up for his first time as well. And I've struggled the whole run. It was so hard. I was able to get up actually on foil, but then just for, I don't know, 15 seconds, 13 seconds, because it felt, the 1300 felt so rodeo. It was like up and down, and it was trying to throw me off,
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to keep going with the speed of the bumps. So the bumps, no way. I was just so overfoiled. And then I was talking to the guys, and they said, okay, try the smaller foil. And so I did, and it was harder to get up. I worked more on getting up. But once I was up on foil, it was so much easier.
Yeah.
And because it's like the 1201, but it was a bit thinner, so it was really fast foil. I remember my top speed was about, I don't know, 40 kilometers. It was pretty fast for like, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
I think we both tested the same foil there, because it was the first version?
Not the first, the second.
Second. Yeah, okay, so that was a little bit, because the first version was super quick. I think it was probably quicker than the 1099, and the second version was slowed down a touch, but it was still, I guess we probably gave the same feedback, is it needs to be slower if we're going to make it.
Yeah.
If it's going to be different to the 1300.
But it was fun. I had more top speed than Adai on his lift. I think 120. Yeah. On this one. So it was super fun. But it was overpowered on that speed. So it was.
Oh, for sure.
But I was. But the conditions there are super great for learning. I don't know if you remember the harbor there. There was like a harbor, and it's the perfect block for the swell. So it's so easy to paddle far out in the wind line, because it's flat water, no wind. It's like made for downwind. You paddle out there, and then you enter the highway, and it's big, and it's so much fun. And there's like super strong wind, so that actually helps you to get up with the strong wind. And right behind the harbor, the swell or the chop is super steep, but like compared to the lakes, but it's organized because there's not big swell coming in. It's just the wind chop, and it's super easy to get up there. And that's very good. And
the only problem with that is, you get up easily next to the harbor, and then if you fall off halfway along, you're now in the midst of the swell, and it's like, I could get up easily at the start, but now I can't. So that's
and it's a different game. In the middle, it's a different game, and there are also the slalom race. It was there from the windsurfers. And they trained in the wintertime for the slalom, and I was there sitting in between of the races next to a buoy, and there were like, I don't know, 15 or 20 windsurfers with 70 kilometers an hour were passing by, and I was like trying to get up. I was so scared. It was fun. But it's a nice run. It's a good distance, and it feels kind of safe because you really end up in the bay. So it's a good. It was a very good training for me. It was the right place for in the right time.
And do you think after that, I guess, learning to paddle up that 1201 proto, when you came home, did you try the 1201 in your lake, the local lake?
No, not in this lake yet, because of the beginning of the run.
It's
just flat water pumping. And it's more fun to be a bit overpowered than underpowered.
Sure.
If it just match for the last 500 meter, it's not worth it.
Not worth it.
But what I've tried now, I think last week or the week before, I was on Lake Garda, and I was there on the 1201, and it was perfectly matching the conditions.
Nice.
It was not a big wind. It was like average conditions. And it was so much fun on Lake Garda downwinding. I think it's a huge potential for this area, is the downwind.
I was actually chatting to, I don't remember what his name was, but he was in charge of organizing. It's an event called, I think it's called Foil Week, and it's not much.
I know it.
I'd never heard of it. I guess I'm from Australia, so it explains why. But he was asking me how he could organize a SUP foil event. In the morning the wind blows one direction, in the afternoon the wind blows the other direction. And so it's the perfect location for a shuttleless downwinder. Downwinder one spot, have lunch, have a little stretch out, and then when the wind comes up, back to the car for the afternoon. It's the perfect day out.
It is, and it's like every day like this. So it's thermic, so it's because of the mountains, because they heat up. So it's perfect to organize an event, because you have that wind there when the event is going. So and I was lucky because there was a guy from the surf school. Normally you can pay him 15 euro to get you out with the wing, because when it's offshore to learn, it's hard to learn starting from the shore. Onshore. So he brings you out, and then you can learn how to wing out there, and you will be blown to downwind to the land. And I paid him the 15 euro to bring me up, and he was like, "Where's your wing?" I was like, "No, I have a paddle." And he's like, "No way." He gave me the 15 euro back and said, "Okay, I will bring you out like every day you want. You can just hop on the board, and I will bring you out."
That's so good.
So I did a lot of runs, and he was like, "Oh wow, that's amazing! I want to do it. Can you leave your gear here? I want to buy it. I give you cash." So that's the people are still very impressed by the stand-up foiling.
I feel like it's just about to, like, it's obviously grown a lot in the last year, but I honestly think there's a lot more growth in it, and it's exciting to see it. And I think especially like in Europe, because of the high populations and the high number of lakes, and the big foils, the new boards, these longer skinny boards. It's I
Yeah.
want to go back to earlier on. You were speaking about your first board was 8 foot, and now your latest board, your Axis board is 6'10". Is that right?
Yeah,
so why have you gone shorter?
Because that's the one Adrian offered me.
Okay.
He was telling me, I'm building a board for Olivia. I can make the same for you if you want. And I was like, sure, why not? So, but now I love it I love the board because it's smaller. I can put it in my car easily. And it's also good in turning and stuff, so I don't know. But when I go out on a situation where it's my first run or something, I have to cancel Siri. She's listening to me. So I would prefer the longer one just because it's easier to get up. I think when I'm now going to Brittany and doing the ocean runs, I will bring my Kalama for sure. Just to be comfortable to get up on smaller foils, But with the 3010, you can get up with everything, It's super easy
that's what I was wondering. I thought, because especially lake runs, I think they lend themselves to shorter, wider boards because we're using bigger, slower foils, so we don't have to paddle as fast. But
exactly.
But it's still easier on the longer skinny boards. So there's not really, like, the only benefit is, it fits in your car essentially. And once you're up on foil, I think, originally when Dave came out with his boards, I thought, longer skinny, it's going to be really bad for when the bumps are really close together. But in reality,
it's not.
We're above the water. We're above
the
water.
For sure.
Yeah, it doesn't make
you
any
don't
difference.
run if you run into the next bump, you're way too far in front of the too low and way too far in front of the bump behind you. It's actually not possible to run into a bump.
And the other reason, I guess, that theory is flawed is I used to paddle 18-foot boards in lake style downwind runs, and I didn't feel like the length was a problem. I was faster on an 18-foot board than I was a 14-foot board. So the disadvantage of the shorter board that I originally thought a reason as to why I didn't want to try it was because it was too much length and not as nice for pumping, and I was going to crash into the bump in front. And I've only ever had that once, and that was on like a 6'10", and the bumps were super short. It was a river running out, and it basically was one point, and I was underfoiled. So when you're too low and you're pumping and the bumps too close together, you're going faster than the bumps and you're running into the stuff. And that's the one time I found the board was too long. It wasn't even a long board. It was a 6'10". I was underfoiled, and it was a pretty weird setup. So don't be afraid by going long, I think, is the lesson.
For sure.
And the only advantage that you're gaining is maybe you can get a 6'10" lighter than an 8-foot board. That's the only reason. And then once you're up and going, the pumping's a little bit easier. But the paddle up's the hardest thing. And if you can make that paddle up easier, life's easier.
And I think if you have a board which is really with a thin nose, it's not harder to pump. If you have a board with a short board with a bulky nose, it's harder to pump than a long board with a thin nose with less weight in the front.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. No, very cool.
So I can pump my Kalama. I've tried it. I think it's actually the board which I can pump for the longest time.
There you go. More than your tray?
No, not more. But it was fun. I tried. I pumped a lot of time on the stand-up paddle boards, just these boards, and then I switched back to the tray, and it was like it felt so twitchy and so uncomfortable because I got used to the long boards. So it's actually not bad pumping the long boards. It's a different feeling. It's more smoothed out, more stable, more. I like the feeling. Yeah. So it's not a bad. It's not always go shorter, go smaller.
Yeah, it's less pitch sensitive. It's like it's less up down. It's like it's sort of smoother, and I do still think that people should start on as long as they can get. Like up towards 9 foot even, I think is going to make it even easier. And then once you get to that length, I think depending on the conditions and whatnot, I think there is something in going shorter. Like, and I'm not saying 6 foot, but I'm saying maybe you want to go down to 8 foot or 7'6" or 7'2", because if you can pull up a 7.2 and it's easy enough, it is a fraction better than the exact same shape in 8.6 or 8.0 is going to be nicer, shorter. So I think learning longer is better, but as you advance your skills, I think there's something in going. I think there's going to be a trend of, people learning on longer, skinnier boards. So, I'm 9 foot, I think is not going to be uncommon. And I think we're going to see people who have currently on 8 foot boards that are proficient and good at it move down into the 7 foot range. I think there's a magic number somewhere in between there, but more beginner boards in the 9 foot range and more advanced boards in the 7 foot range is kind of.
And I think it's also what you're looking for and where you're coming from. When you're coming from the surf, you want a small board, and when you want to turn as hard as you can on a downwind, like you do on the surf, then you want a small board for sure. But when you just want to go with the flow, or if you want to race and overtake bumps and just or want to be the fastest up on foil paddling, then you go for a longer board.
For sure.
So
and there's going to be these two disciplines that kind of grow out of this. At the moment we're all just downwind foiling, but there's already guys that are trying to go as fast as they can. And there's guys that are just trying to surf as hard as they can. And it's no right or wrong, but it's.
So we will have race downwind in future, surf downwind in future. Maybe it's different disciplines in downwind.
Yeah, I hope the surf downwind thing catches on. It's just so much harder to organize, harder to measure because the race is easy. Start here, finish there. Winner is the first across the line. Surf downwind, it's just a bit harder to figure out, I guess. Hey,
I got a question from a follower who asked me if I can ask you this question. It was like, maybe it's a good point to pick it up. He was asking, where do you see the future of downwinding? But not like tomorrow, like in 10 years or in 15 years. So very far. Will it be the thing, or where will it be?
I think it's going to be bigger. I got no question about that. But I hope, like we spoke about earlier, that there's going to be slower foils developed so that we can downwind foil in more locations. At the moment, Hawaii, Tenerife, there's Lake Garda, there's these spots that are, always windy. And of course, those locations are always going to have a high population of, downwind foils or, wind sport people. I personally hope that there's more lakes with a, 3, 4, 5 kilometer fetch that people are downwind foiling in because, I don't know, it's just untapped potential. All you need is a little tiny bump, and foils we know are so efficient at tapping into that energy. I don't see it becoming crowded, so to speak, in 10 years' time. I see it becoming more crowded than what it is, but the beauty of downwind foiling is, you and I can be in the exact same bump next to each other, and then in 10 seconds we can be hundreds of meters apart because you go right, I go left, and all of a sudden we're going the same speed away from each other. The other thing is if it's too crowded because you've just left in a group, you can just sit down and wait for that group to go, and then you got your ocean to you, or the water to yourself straight away. So I don't see the crowds being an issue. I think surf foiling is going to become crowded, and we're going to lose a bit of. Yeah, I think so. It's a finite resource. Even though the waves are worse that we foil in, there's just more. There's more. It's an easier thing to do, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's less space for it. The coastline, I guess, whereas the downwind foil out to sea. But yeah, like we said, there'll be surf foiling, there'll be race foiling. Unfortunately, I'm worried the race foiling is going to become a straight up and over, just like pumping over the bumps because we're going to develop foils.
Little foils, just fast pumping over it, overtake it, and it's a cardio game. Like back in the stand-up days, right? In the Flatwater stand-up days.
That's what I'm worried about. I think that's going to become a thing, and I think races like Molokai to Oahu actually are important that you have varied conditions because you can't, I guess you can't use the fastest foil. The fastest foil is not going to win. Like I had 3 foils that I could have used that were faster than the foil I chose, and they could go way faster. But the problem is because they were going way faster, I have to work way harder. I didn't want to work that hard, and I wasn't fit enough to work as hard as I could have to do my best with the smaller foil. I'm worried as the sport progresses, people are going to be fit enough to use that smaller foil, and they're going to be pumping across the entire channel, and that's just part of sport. I think it's going to happen, and that's where I think the surf downwind foiling, you know, maybe there's a limitation on the size foil you can use or the speed the foil that you use maybe that's going to be a thing. But yeah, it's a good question. I think we're at the beginning of this, and kind of 5 years in. To me, I've been downwind foiling since like 2017, 2018 kind of time frame. No, 2017, and it's stayed more or less the same. The boards have changed, the foils have gotten slightly faster, but we're talking like, I don't know, what have we, like a good run back in the day was if you could average 20 Ks an hour, and now a good run is like 30 Ks an hour. So it's doubled almost, 50% quicker. I think we'll keep getting quicker. I think the boards they'll get more efficient, and I'm worried that we're just going to be going up and over bumps. But the more endurance races like Molokai to Oahu, I think it's going to prevent that. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I think the big one is the lakes. I think the less renowned, the less well-renowned wind spots are going to become better for the downwind stuff.
And maybe it's an opportunity for all the schools, because you have to provide infrastructure to do it. You know, I was talking with the guy, and he was like, and we were thinking about you have to shuttle people, you know, and you're saying it's not crowded on the water, but you have to go up again. So he has a boat and he can carry up like 5 people, but he's interesting in offer it, because you just go up with the board and you can offer tickets, you know. But how many people can you get up there with a boat? It's like, if I'm thinking about it like the skiing here in the Alps. So maybe some days you will have a lift or like a bus shuttle with all the boards, and I don't know. So but it's interesting because you don't.
Just when you said that, I was thinking like, why couldn't you have like a T-bar, like a cable park, so to speak? And if you had a prevailing wind, you could literally, grab onto the T-bar, and that it could take you back up to the top of the run. On a foil, it's not so bad foiling upwind, because it's not bouncy. We're above it. So
and maybe not a 10K run, but then you just have 2Ks and you have fun all the time. It's like skiing, in a park. Or going downhill with a bike. And I think the infrastructure could be nice to make a business out of it. Because what are you doing now? Everyone has his own gear. You go in the water, you enter the water, and who do you own money by? I don't know, there's nothing, it's free on the lakes.
It's free,
But it could be for the schools or for everyone who is there. And I also see especially in the foil industry now, everyone brings his own gear. Even if I have students who want to learn foil, and they are completely equipped with foil, with wing, with boards, with everything. So I think it's not made for rental. You don't rent boards, like maybe e-foils, go out having fun with e-foil 1 hour, pay, I don't know, 100 euros for it, having fun. But the average person owns his own gear, like completely from foil to wing.
I wonder if that's a surfing, thing that's infiltrated the foiling space, because like if I go to the mountain for like the snow, I'll hire a board. And as that's not uncommon. Like most people hire their gear. But for sure. Like if I was to go to Hawaii, there's not really like you're not going to hire a surfboard. But
I'm wondering, because foiling is super expensive. So if you buy everything before if it's fun for you, I mean it's a huge commitment. You pay thousands of euro and you've never done it. So that's what most people do here. They just buy all the stuff and starting with his own gear.
Yeah, I actually see that a lot in my coaching too. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to sign up, but I'm gonna sign up to the online course once I have my own equipment." And I'm like, just wait, because there's advice on equipment in the course, and you can spend a lot of money buying the wrong equipment, and then it's hard to move the wrong equipment too. So it's I think hiring stuff that could be the future of it too. The infrastructure around it and having equipment that's I think foiling gear is pretty strong. It's I always have my own fleet of demo gear that I teach with, and but always people want to bring their own stuff, and it's like bring it, but if it's not right, we'll use my stuff. Because that's interesting. It's a good question. Someone asked me about the Bungee and what the product was called. So, is there a specific Bungee cable you're using?
Yeah. We do now. We do our own. We've started with a product which is called Bungee, and it was made for. I think they made it for skating or snowboarding in town. Like back in the 80s or 90s, and this was pretty good, but not exactly what we wanted. And I've played around with different strengths, different lengths, all the different values, and I figured out what works best. And it's now we are producing our own. And I always have to do 10 to make the factory produce it. So I sell 9 and keep 1 for me. And the Bungee lasts for like 1 year or 2 years in our conditions, but we use it like every day, or every second day. So I have to rebuild it after a time. But you get a lot of hour of it out of it. And it was pretty interesting. At first we thought, okay, we have to get it longer, to be faster or whatever. But when it's too long, you can't turn anymore. Then you have no pull in the turns. And when it's too short, it just wraps you around. It always it's too hard to carve smooth. And so now we have the perfect length. And then we extend the Bungee by a static rope to get the right angle. So you have to be in a like 45 degree or something, or 30 degree angle to make it work perfectly. And you can change that static to the width of your river. So if you have a wider river, you use a longer static rope, but the Bungee is always the same.
What kind of flow do you need? Like, how fast does the river have to be moving for it to work?
That's the most question I got. I always tell the people, if you take your board with the foil and you hold it in the water, and not by stepping up on it, just holding it, and when the flow lifts your foil, then you're good to go. If it's not strong enough to lift your foil or lift your board, then it's too slow. But it's actually not that much that you need. It's a very and it's good, because if it gets too big, it's very dangerous, because when you fall in, you will be you will be far away and have to climb out. So it's important to find a good spot. Where we live, it's like perfect. It's not dangerous. You can walk out on the right and the left side. There are no rocks coming behind you. So it's very important to check if you've got the right spot to go out, to enter and exit out of the water very easily.
Cool. And I guess that's also the reason, I guess, the more important to have bigger foils, because the bigger the slower the foil lifts, the more I guess rivers you can use for the Bungee.
We could go in the river. We have bigger conditions in the river, and I could go there with a, I don't know, 899 or something and have fun. But it's not fun when you fall in. You have to walk up a few kilometers, because you're gonna push down so fast, and it's not easy, and not it's too dangerous to go in.
Makes sense.
So that better take big foils on slow conditions than small foils on dangerous conditions.
And something like I haven't done a lot of is river, any sort of river stuff, because we don't have any, or we don't have many rivers around here in Sydney that flow that fast. But it's dangerous. You know, rivers, like waves, they break and then they stop, and then they break and then they stop. Whereas rivers are just constant. So those that are listening, take rivers seriously, because if you get stuck under a log, you're done. Yeah, it's very difficult to get out of there.
So we never use a leash because it's just dangerous in the river.
Yeah.
No leash. And it's also, when someone wants to try it, there's one you have to make sure that when you let go the bungee, it doesn't flip on top of the bridge, because you don't want to hurt people walking on the bridge. So make sure you have you have a how do you call it? Is it a leveler? No, where people put their hand on the,
oh, like a spotter.
So it's important to make sure you are very, very safe, and all other people are safe. Also, don't grab the rope before the handle, because then when you extend the bungee and you let go the rope, the handle comes from behind you.
Yeah.
And the handle is behind you, and it can hurt your head or something.
Yeah.
So just grab the handle, nothing else. So a few things that you have to keep in mind when you go out there, but then it's safe. So I spent, I don't know how many hours there, and there was not a single moment where it was like danger.
Yeah, that sounds so cool. I want to I'd actually really like to try that, and I think there are a few locations definitely on the East Coast, like nearby where I live, that we could make it work. But
I will send you a rope, a bungee rope.
Yeah, it'd be cool to play around with. I think we'd figure something out. I reckon it'd be cool to see what we can.
Yeah, it's fun.
We got the tides move, and we got like a lagoon nearby that, if you get the tides right, there's a pretty good flow. And I think with
so one guy on a buoy, there was like a super big buoy in the ocean, and he attached a bungee to it and was surfing the tides when they go in and out in the middle of the ocean, and it was looking like, what is he doing there? But then if you fall in, you have to, I don't know, you have to paddle or whatever, so it's not easy to walk up again.
You'd almost want the wing in your backpack, if there was wind, somehow get back up wind. But I guess it's not wind, it's current, which is tricky.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I was thinking maybe in the river it will be, and now I'm pumping a lot in the river, just starting with the rope and then pumping a lot. And you see in the river, it's like there are like bumps or something. I'm always wondering if it's possible to surf these bumps some days. I mean, it's super turbulent. It's super
usually shallow too.
Yeah, it's shallow. It's unorganized. It's quick. Everything is so quick. But maybe on a different spot, I just see my spot. But on a different spot, maybe it's possible to. It's like downwinding. It's almost like bumps on the downwind, but you are not going with the bumps. You stay on the bumps. So maybe when foils are getting better or different, or the spot, if I find the right spot, could be able to.
Could be the next frontier. The next new thing. I know.
Maybe.
There's guys on the kayaks and even SUP, just like that. They'll surf, river waves. And surfers, they surf river waves.
Here next to us is Eisbach in Munich. It's most favorite river surf.
Has anyone tried the foil at that spot?
It's not. Munich? I know a guy who's trying to find a spot to foil there, but Eisbach is not possible because it's too. I think it's too big, but in behind it's there are rocks and it's shallow.
Yeah.
So if you fall once, your equipment will be smashed.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's a disposable foil setup. Yeah.
You have to be so high on foil because it's shallow.
And high on foil in turbulent water is tricky.
And behind you are rocks. So you just get one chance, and no one wants to try it. I think it should be fun. It should be super cool.
It could be super fun.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up. But do you want to leave listeners with anything in particular? You got any?
I have one question opened. Maybe you can answer to it. So people are wondering, and especially me, same on me. Maybe you can tell us about the business behind James Casey, because I'm wondering, I have so normal people have their job, and they do foiling as a hobby.
Yeah.
But you do it, yeah, like you do it for profession, and where's the money coming from? And who is going to pay for Maui?
I pay for Maui. No, I've got sponsors. So Sonova is my biggest sponsor at the moment, and we have the Casey boards. So I get like a commission, I guess, out of those boards, and the wing, the prone, the sup foil boards, and the sup surfboards. So that's one way. I used to work as a meteorologist, so I was working in an office. I was only casual because I was doing the sup racing, and then a friend of mine asked me to start coaching him for stand-up paddle racing, and I started doing that when I was traveling, and basically I found and then more and more people asked me to help them out with that sort of stuff. So I created like an online platform where I would send people training programs, and basically to sort of check in with them.
Was it the Casey Club, or was
that's what it's evolved into. So it didn't start as that. It was just kind of organically. It was just me teaching people who wanted to get better at sup racing. It was more fitness, than skill stuff. And then during COVID, I created but then I was doing that. I was teaching stand up, like one-on-ones and sort of group lessons every now and then when I was home. But then I was traveling doing sup races, and then COVID came, and I thought, okay, I've learned all this stuff, how to teach sup. So I wrote like an online course, which was the beginning of the Coach Casey Club. And then I was foiling heaps as well. And there wasn't many people foiling at the time. So I'm like, it's not worth doing a foiling course. 6 months later, COVID, more and more people foiling because more time, more money, staying at home. So I wrote a foil course, and that was the beginning of the Coach Casey Club. And basically now that's kind of my full-time job, the Coach Casey Club. And then sponsors, my deals with, Sonova with the Casey boards, and now Code Foils, which has taken up more time than anything else, actually. Code Foils has taken up more time than most stuff, but it's, we're starting out, and it's certainly not paying us yet, but it's the beginning of it. You've got to spend a bit of money to start to make money, and, that business side of things. But yeah, basically just the coaching stuff at the moment, the coaching, which I'm super lucky. I do like probably 3 or 4 private lessons a week, and I've got the online courses, and I've got sort of, I guess, sort of like the Coach Casey Club, I've got like a premium version of that. So it's like one-on-one calls. So I talk by Tuesday, but with just one person. We go through all their questions, all their videos, and so yeah, that's the business model, so to speak, at the moment. And I feel super fortunate that I get to, like you said, how do I make foiling my job? And it's just, it's happened through.
But how is it? Is it? I think it's sometimes hard for you to keep the stoke, for the if you are with it's same for me. I'm running a media production company, and I was thinking about to make this company to make my own films, because I was doing my own films, and I was thinking, okay, let's do a company and then I can do more films. But that stopped me from making my own films,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's maybe hard for you to keep motivated to go in the water and train yourself when you're so deep into that with a business idea as well. So to keep the same balance between business and between the stoke,
Yeah, look, it is tricky. But I think just foiling is so fun that it hasn't happened yet. Basically, there's definitely days, like, people think I foil all the time, like 7 days a week I'm foiling, and that's certainly not the case. I look after my son every Wednesday and Thursday, and I don't go on the water most Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not worried about missing out on 2 days because I've got 5 other days to go in the water. Today, I didn't go in the water. I was just playing with my son in the backyard. We went for a walk, checked out the ocean. Didn't look bad, didn't look super good. So I was like, I'll go out tomorrow. So it's a balancing act, but I think goal setting is really important. And, setting goals like Molokai Tuahu, setting goals. I'm currently training for a race over in Western Australia. and I want to try to do another, big, endurance downwind foil event and or effort and stuff like that.
The new record? Will it be the new record?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can beat Olivia's. She smashed it.
You want to have it back?
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like setting goals is really important, and it keeps you motivated for me. And look, there's plenty of competition out there. I'm a competitive guy, so it's that keeps me hungry. But there's definitely days that I'm not motivated to go in the water, and it's like but it's sort of more because I'm happy, hanging out with my son and my family, which is just as important or more important than anything.
Yeah.
So
for sure, I agree.
It's finding the balance, and that's the trick. It's
cool.
It's been a good, like I said, I'm very fortunate, very lucky to live the life I do. But I've worked hard to get where I am, and taken choices that aren't the norm. I could have stayed in my office job and could have a good life, but I took a few risks. I did this, I did that, traveled to events to try to get results, get sponsors that would help me sort of build the brand and create partnerships and relationships, and got to the point that I'm at now. So
nice.
Luckiest guy in the world, I feel like.
Sounds like you made it.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I feel like I've made it, and that's all that matters,
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah. So what do you want to leave us with? Like, what do you want to leave people that are listening, to the Casey catch up, and any advice?
Okay. So the advice is when there's enough wind to go winging, you can go downwinding. Good
one. Yeah, that's actually one or two more questions I just thought of. One.
Okay, I'm running out of battery, so
we
have 9% battery on my MacBook. Okay.
It was super quick. First one, winging. Do you think winging was worth the sidetrack to learn to downwind?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Good one. And then the second
one.
Because
I was able to surf bumps and then just go back up and do it again, or just for seconds. So it's a huge, it helps so much. Yes.
Yeah. Good. And then the second one was in the river. Is it easier to get up with the flow or against the flow?
Paddling?
Yeah.
With the flow. Also pumping. No, sorry, against the flow. Against the flow.
Against the flow.
Also pumping is easier. Yeah. Because you don't have that ground speed. So you have no wind. Even if you go 20 kilometers an hour pumping, or like 15 kilometers, you have wind. I don't know how you call it, like when you drive a car. Yeah. Even if there's no wind, you still have wind. You moving, and you're moving against something. And when you pump in the current, you are much slower ground speed when you pump against the flow. So that's why it's easier to get up and easier to pump.
Gotcha. So I found, and I've literally, like I said, not much river stuff, but I found there was drag on the board when you were going against the flow, but there was lift on the foil. And so I found it almost depends on what foil you're using, obviously. But if the drag on your board going against the flow was higher than the lift on your foil, then it'd be easy going the other way because there's less drag. But
interesting. But when you pump or you paddle with the flow, then you're so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. If you watch the people on the side, you are moving so fast because the river is flowing with I don't know how many kilometers, and then you add your pumping speed and it's super fast.
Yeah.
So it looks pretty amazing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll be curious to see if you did like a test on like a smaller foil, if that was the same going against the flow with a big board like your SUP, like your Kalama board with like a 899 going into it versus the foil that you can only just paddle up. I think
I just got the new RT Pro, the smaller ones, the 12 the 1201. I have the 11 and then the 10. So I will try how to get up on the smaller ones, and I will try to tune in the foils. So I'm curious to see if I can get up.
Yeah, I think you'll smash it. Oh, thanks so much for your time, Lucas. It's been actually really fun to chat to you. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It was a dream for me to be in your show someday. And I can check mark it.
Yeah, bucket list. Done. Thanks, mate.
Cool. Next goal is to meet you in real person, live on a race or somewhere.
Actually, speaking of races, are you doing the Open French race?
Yeah, I will go there, but I'm not a competitive guy, and I promise you I will not overtake a single bump. I will just have my fun and do the carving stuff, and just I go there to meet the persons, to meet the people, to see the community. A day is coming from Tenerife to see. It's nice. It's such a small community, and I want to be there, but not for competition, just for having fun.
So are you not entered in the race? You're just going to?
Yeah, I'm entered, but just to get the infrastructure.
Okay, so we need to create a surf downwind foil division. I think it's quick.
Yeah.
I think the king of the cutback. We need to put that into place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lucas. Good one. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much. See you.